And when you look at LPG connections, I get it that now the vast majority of the population has an LPG connection, but they're not able to afford it. They have an empty cylinder sitting there for years and years. They're not able to afford to get it refilled. So what are the metrics that we have used? One is to say access, the other is whether, one is, metrics, 50 people to a toilet, or is it 5 people to a toilet? What have you used? And also, what is being actually used, like in LPG? If 90% have access, are even 50 people able to afford it? Because otherwise it will make very little difference to the environment if you're still using the chula.
Yeah, thank you. Yes. Just 1 second.
First of all, thank you for giving the opportunity. I'm Guru from Mark, and I think I was to ask the same question Mr. Saurabh sir has already asked you. The indicators what you were using when you were calculating about the LPG, and I can see that in most of the states which we used to quote unquote Bimari states, so there the number is lesser, right? And in Jharkhand specifically and in Meghalaya, I've seen that less than 50%. What was the reason, like any insights over that? And apart from that, since we have, as a mark, we also have work on accessing civic rights, issue of accessing civic rights, lots of community-based research also. What we have observed there, sir, that usage is a big issue, although through Ujjwala scheme or through other scheme also, immediate collection, but वो एक बार के बाद दोबारा यूज नहीं होता है. और टॉयलेट के बारे में भी ऐसे ही है, कुछ पानी का ना होना. Thank you.
Okay. Yes, please.
No, my question was very similar to them. The influence of subsidy on the usages. For example, in Ujjwala Yojana, there was roughly 1,500 initial subsidy given to the poor BPL families, but later on it was not continued, and so there were no refilling. Again, now Ujjwala 2 has been rolled out, but what is the incentive for the poor to refill it?
Absolutely. Any other? Yeah.
Thank you, sir, for making a very well-read presentation. It's been your honor to educate the whole of here. I have some very minor questions. When you say that census towns have a higher incidence of urban poverty, if I have understood it correctly, so is it due to the fact that basically census towns are only an extension or the enlargement of villages? So the extent of poverty which was there in those villages earlier has remained same, and so we say that there is an increase in incidence of urban poverty, or in these census towns. Secondly, when you say that the cities in poorer states have higher incidence of urban poverty, does it mean that poor people in poorer states migrate from one poor pocket, say the villages, to another relatively less poor pocket, say the cities within those states? And third, if I have understood correctly, you said that there is a decline in slums population. So basically, is it because of the fact that slums have been dismantled, or because of the fact that people dwelling or living in those slums have been migrated to better, have been shifted to better accommodation or houses? Thank you.
Thank you. Now the answers.
Thank you. First, we stand corrected. I mean, I certainly stand corrected. So, poor are the polluters, this matters with PP, and that's why perhaps it came up. But nonetheless, paucity results in pollution. That's also a very well phrased thing. And in fact, when I started by saying that the assumption is because there is a denial of basic amenities to the poor in large cities and also in the small and medium towns, they are being forced into use some non-renewable resources. So positive factor was certainly there, but nonetheless, I think we have, in our paper also, I think a couple of times we have mentioned this. This direct linkage neither was suggested in the international platform, nor it is there. Professor Bindu Pahanti, you said that there is a lot of concern for the poor, and actually that is what I am really worried about, because I remember once we were in a meeting with Sheelaji sitting, and I said, can I do an exercise of ward level data to say access of basic amenities in different wards. And she said she was very excited about it. And she said, yes, let us do that and we'll show how between 91 and 2001, that's quite some time back, how the inequalities have gone down. So I said, suppose our analysis shows that inequality across the wards have gone up. Then the chief secretary was sitting, he said, Brother Kundu, you traveled to Amsterdam, can you find a job for me then? So we had a good laugh at that. But in the same seminar, Justice Kripal, not a seminar, it was a meeting, Justice Kripal, who was responsible for the decision that to give alternate land to a slum dweller is like rewarding a pickpocket. Somebody who has stolen land, you are giving another reward. I am not very sure that actual implementation level concern for the poor trickles down. And as far as the gender and social groups are concerned, we have analyzed, but I didn't really bring that in. In a way, to some extent questions Shamika Ravi's argument, but gender is our study on discrimination in India shows that as far as the women are concerned, the discrimination is maximum. It's much more than caste discrimination or religious-based discrimination. As far as data is concerned, I must apologize. I think we have raised your expectations too high. We have used the available secondary data because we wanted to give a broad national level perspective. We have not been able to go into the question of quality of data, whether affordability, whether LPG they can buy or not, and what kind of water do they stand in a long queue, but the decline in the public standpost is a matter of concern. And increase in the RO water and the bottled water, if that increases the overall improved water, then I'm worried about it, because there has to be thrust on the poor. As far as the toilet is concerned, I remember, I can be honest here only, the Secretary, Ministry of Rural Development, who had asked me to chair that committee, he said, we go to the television and say 100% sanitation coverage. I said, look, my analysis shows 83, 84. No, but we have already announced it. I said, that's the job of the secretary to do it, not the statistical person to go on the television and say. But nonetheless, 39% going up to 85% is a significant achievement. And I must tell you what we could do. As a chairperson, we visited. I couldn't visit large number of villages, but we insisted that there has to be a photograph of water connecting the toilet. That's all we could do. If somebody is fudging that photograph also, we have no way that we could cross-check that. As far as the slum is concerned, I must tell you there is a sharp decline. And in fact, UN Habitat complimented India. So you have led to significant decline in the slum population. Pranab Sen Committee had estimated that total slum dwelling population in 2001 was something like 65 million. And this will go up to 93 million. Would you believe the actual data showed that 65 million went up to 67 million only, not 93 million. And this significant decline in the percentage of urban, I'm talking about absolute urban slum population increased, but percentage of slum population went down significantly. And that is certainly not because of the slum dwelling population going up. I've been discussing with our minister, the Puri. I also believe that the housing program is a major success. Imagine 11 million dwelling units coming up. But have we been able to target? I looked at the 4 verticals of housing. You do find that you make things convenient for the middle class to enter in every scheme. For example, subsidized housing, scheme, or the in situ upgradation program where a private sector comes in. So I think this is a significant achievement in Prime Minister's Awas Yojana, because 11 million houses will be built during this period. But are we able to target? And that is certainly a major area of concern. As in case of drinking water also, I thought that targeting is an issue. As far as the census towns are concerned, certainly the access to basic amenities are much less there, because they are not recognized by the government. Census towns, how do they come up? if they satisfy the demographic criteria, 5,000 population, 75% of the workers being outside agriculture and density, then they are type 7. But they don't get the basic amenities. I'll tell you, slum census did not cover class 4, class 5, class 6 towns. This was not covered in 2001. Kumari Shailaja, the Minister for Urban Development, she said this is not done. We have to find out, the slum census should cover these categories of towns also. So a special survey was conducted by the census covering class 4, class 5, class 6 towns, which is below 20,000. And what the Registrar General writes, I'm not putting exactly, he said, it is not necessary to go there and collect the data because the entire town is a slum. Quality of life in the small and medium towns is that, in this, particularly the emerging towns, number of census towns have gone up significantly. And I have all along argued that there has to be provision, recognition of these census towns, where the Minister for Urban Development says our central government programs are only for the statutory towns which have been recognized by the state government, not the census towns, which have emerged through the market forces, through the struggle of the people to find some employment outside agriculture. Agriculture can't take any more people. It's already burdened. They are coming into various informal activities in the large villages, and they should be given the kind of status and provided the basic amenities. Well, I thought I have answered large number of questions. Is there anything else?
I want to
Make it briefer.
yeah, only one point, probably all the points have been covered. So regarding that methodology and metrics and the LPG question. So first of all, what Professor Kundu already mentioned, that you have taken the broad category. So the quality and service benchmark is there already there. So that needs to be done with in further research is needed with the micro level, granular level data. So there is some presentation we have seen earlier also that is an option. So second important point what the LPG, about the LPG, that is a surprising point for us also. So if we see, forget about the Bhimaru state and other states, the Kerala is also showing the coverage is much lower than any state, developed state or a high urbanized state. One reason is that I'm talking about the in a blanket way. The map is not here, but if it could be, then I can tell you the story. The story is that in the northeastern state, this is clearly showing in my graph and the data also in the northeastern state, eastern part, some of the states, Bhimaru state, including Bhimaru states, and Kerala. And Jammu Kashmir, also northern parts of the of India. These states, in these states, coverage of LPG is lower because of they are using alternative source for the cooking, because this is the indigenous or the practices they have been using for long. They have not converted their usual practice from firewood to the LPG. That is the reason for lower coverage in the northern part of the India, in the northeastern, mostly northeastern states. And Kerala, I'm not anticipating why it is happening. It needs more in granular level data, or further investigation is needed for the Kerala. Why they still their only coverage is 78% for, so long way to go for the Kerala. So thank you very much.
Just one sentence. My take home from this discussion is the secondary data-based macro level analysis is not a substitute for the micro level. There is a lot of insight that should be brought in from the micro level studies to supplement and modify some of the conclusions that you get from the secondary data. But we thought somebody should give an overall macro picture, and that's why we did this.
Thank you very much. That was very useful. That is a good approach. And for us, the basic service now is food.
Thanking Professor Mohanty, Professor Kundu, Dr. Rahman, Dr. Mattu and Dr. Alha and the audience. I now request all of you to join us for lunch. And let's try to get back by 2:50.